the words that are written at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, you know, give me your tired, your poor. That was those people. They were coming to leave a place that seemed impossible.
Juan Cantú. He came into my studio, I'll never forget that day, and I handed him the lyrics to the song. And he read those lyrics, and he looked at me, and he said, "This is the story of my parents. This is the story of my whole family. This is the story of me." And that's when I knew we had the right person.
Our parents had a dream when they came to this land.
I feel like those lyrics are my family's story.
They worked their fingers to the bone so the dream could stand.
There are so many things in those lyrics that take me directly to my parents and our family and our story. The reference to working their hands to the bone. I mean, my dad, he grew up in Mexico working in the fields to the point where his hands would bleed. And, you know, he tells stories of going to his dad and saying, you know, showing his hands, hoping for some compassion, and his dad would send him right back to work. And so he was taught this, I don't even want to say ethic, it was horrible, to the conditions he worked in, but that was what they had to do to make a living and to survive. But just knowing that he went through that and then came here and took a job as a machinist and literally, you know, was working his hands to the bone. He had cuts, he had scrapes, his hands were, you know, by the end of his life, the knuckles were crooked from all of the work that he did with his hands. So he did that for us, and so that pain he went through was for me. And so I don't take that lightly. I remember a story when my parents first moved to Chicago, and they found an apartment that they could afford, and the owner of the building, you know, sat my parents down and apparently just laid down the law and said, "I know how you Mexicans are. You know, you drink all the time and you're up all night and you're leaving your bottles of beer everywhere." And so whoever that person was had this image of what he thought Mexicans were like and what their lives were like and what their habits were, and had already imposed that on my parents before they ever got to show who they were. And that isn't who they are, and that wasn't the life they came here to live. And how awful that must feel to go to a new place, sacrifice everything, and then be treated that way. So it's just heartbreaking to know that they dealt with that treatment and with people judging them just because of where they came from. I have 4 brothers and 3 sisters. One of my brothers is Oscar, and so he is now Bishop Oscar Cantú. And so, yeah, he became a priest, which I guess just, you know, growing up with him, when he announced it to the family, it kind of made sense in that he was intelligent and solemn and, you know, a bit quiet, especially compared to me. But he definitely cared about others. And I think we all grew up watching our parents be servants to the community. Even though we were immigrants and poor growing up, they always found time to give to others who were less fortunate. So even though looking back, we were less fortunate, but there were those who struggled even more than we did, and they were always giving back. So they were an example to all of us of how this world should work. No matter where you are in the levels of socioeconomic background, you can always help those less fortunate, and that's what makes the world work. My hope is that we can come from a place of compassion and most importantly, realizing that unless you are Native American, you came from immigrants. So we are all immigrants. That's what this country is made of. And so we have to have that compassion for those who are seeking the same dream as our ancestors, as our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents. So we have to start with that. We have to realize we're all immigrants, we're children of immigrants, we must start with compassion, then we must realize that these people are searching for something better. They're searching for an opportunity to have a better life, and even more importantly, provide a better life for their kids. And I think that's what my parents did. I'm thankful they did it, and I think others deserve that same chance.